Hello. Okay, this full disclosure early on. This is about. It's not a hit piece on Donald Trump. It's merely my observations of Donald Trump and his ego and the dangers of that. So it's not intended to be a kind of smutty, whoa, rapist Trump. Although I might touch on that type of thing. And obviously, also, it's not any kind of endorsement of Hillary Clinton, the demon-soaked corpse that is Hillary Clinton. I didn't even want to touch on this subject of politics and Trump and Clinton, but I'm just interested in his ego and in what I see as a huge flaw and a huge weakness for the man. Clinton obviously doesn't even... There's no point talking about Hillary Clinton. The world knows the wreck that she is and the despicable being that she is. Now, first off, the president, whoever the president may be, answers to an elite. That's not a conspiracy. In my opinion, the Goldman Sachs are in and out of... Goldman Sachs? Goldman's socks are in and out of the White House and various jobs and roles in there. That's obvious. They're funding blah, blah, blah. Right, so they're one of many corporations, other banks. Now, how deep do you want to go? Do you want to go to the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers? Do you want to go to further names that we don't actually even know? Do you want to go to underground caverns and men in capes sacrificing babies? Maybe. I don't know. Reptilians, interdimensional beings controlling them? Maybe. Who knows? But let's keep it simple. We know that there are corporations and so on funding and influencing the president. So these people, these groups are making themselves wealthier and more powerful. They're also, in my opinion, a video I'll do at another point. The purpose of all this is not power and money, in my opinion. It's enslavement. It's fear. It's lower vibrationary stuff. So I'll come back to that at another time. So we know that they're funding. We know that they have the ear of the president. Now, if they have the ear of the president, they also have the ear and maybe the bank details of many of his advisors, fucking secretaries, cleaners, who knows, spies. There's all sorts of people. Easily. People, everyone has a price. I'm a secretary, I'm a fucking toilet cleaner, I make 20 grand a year. Here's 100 grand, stick a microphone, whatever. Who knows? Now maybe that's going to James Bond. But it's obvious, it's easy to influence people. Now, the litmus test for any of these people is, what do you think of central banking? And Trump, Clinton, they're all the same. Sanders, Jeremy Corbyn, Yanis the Clown, all of these, left, right, doesn't matter. The answer is all the same. They're all pro-central banking. They don't want to, or they're not aware of, the cartel that controls our money, inflates our money, depreciates our money, and thus enslaves us. So there's layers upon layers of control and inconsistent policies and political speak and all sorts of fucking nonsense that these people speak, that the mob still seem to lap up and think, oh, make America great. Fucking hell, make America great again. Hope change, that's all. It's advertising, it's bollocks. But aside from that, I don't want to get into that because I'll ramble and rant all day. Central banking. They don't know what it is, or they think it's not a problem, or they're told to fucking stay away from it, basically. So that's the litmus test. If they're not prepared to address that, next, ignore them completely. So Ron Paul is probably the only person, I think, who went that route and obviously didn't get very far. Okay, regarding lesser evil, my role here is absolutism. I want to go all the way. I want everything. I want 100%. I want freedom. I want liberty. I don't want... if you go back to the slaves in the field, you can have an extra day off and we give you an extra potato. No thanks, I want my fucking freedom. So I don't want the potato. I don't want the extra day off. I don't want a percent more of my own money to be allowed to keep. I want out. I don't want to be a part of this. So give me my freedom and fuck off, basically. So Trump v Clinton, I don't fucking care who might be fractionally better than... I mean, in some ways, George Bush and Obama were beneficial for most of the planet. What ways, you say? Well, I'll tell you what ways. 9/11 woke an awful lot of people up, and the wars that followed. Obama's Obamacare has now woken a lot of people up. It's a shock when you're hit with those kind of bills and you realise this is just more cronyism. I don't blame Obama. I have a major dislike for probably all politicians, and it's a big point of it is they don't have the realisation or the spine to stand up in front of a camera and admit this is a fucking fraud. If they did that, they'd have my respect. They'd be dead very quickly, but they'd have my respect. So I don't think he came up with Obamacare. I think corporations or whoever went to him and wanted to insulate their control over the healthcare industry and thus enslave American people even more so. He was probably sold it. Maybe knowingly or unknowingly he went along with it. So granted, yes, in some areas Trump might be fractionally better than Clinton. I don't want the potato. I don't want the day off. Do you want, ask yourself, do you want to be free? Now, some people, the argument that comes back to me is, well, he'll get that little bit freer, like Brexit. We'll get a little bit freer. Fair enough. If that works for you, that's fantastic. Go for it. But I don't want to be free in fucking 9 generations from now. I'm nearly 40 years of age. I am impatient. I want it yesterday. I demand it yesterday. I demand my fucking freedom. So if more people, I think, demanded their freedom and, marched on these cities in their millions demanding to be fucking free of this God knows what type of overlords, things would change fast. If they accept the lesser evil, thinking that he might change a few things, and in 4 years' time we might get to vote another lesser evil, and then another 4 years, and then by the time my great-grandchildren are 56, they might have 3% more of their own money every year. Wouldn't that be fantastic? I've no fucking interest in that. I don't have time. Life is short. Move on. Okay, 2 more points and then I'm done. Trump obviously has a history of... he's a huge ego. It's obvious. His involvement with women, potential alleged rapes of other people, possibly of children. Maybe, now I say there's no smoke without fire. So there was no smoke without fire with Bill Clinton. I say there's no smoke without fire with Trump. Maybe it is a slur, fair enough. Maybe it's just, a smear campaign. I'm not buying that. The like of Epstein being involved, numbers in little black books. A good book to read, I haven't read the book, but I've heard him interviewed, is Harry Vinson, Vinson, Confessions of a DC Madam. I heard him interviewed last year on Higherside Chats. Talked about sex parties that he ran in Washington for politicians and, powerful people. And there were suggestions to bring in kids. He objected. This was one guy. So there are sex parties everywhere, drug parties, fuck knows, all sorts of rituals. And it gets a lot darker than that. These places have microphones, they have cameras. You do something once, you're on the hook. And I would well believe that a lot of these people are on the hook. If you then step out of line, a video slips into the public or you're in trouble. A personal story is a woman I knew a few years ago. I haven't seen her now. We kind of dropped out of contact. She's about 10 years older than me. We'd been to a few retreats together. I kind of trusted her opinion. I would bounce things off her and I would trust her view. And, I'd heard this was maybe around 2007, 2008, 2009. Heard about the Satanism stuff and, Satanism in politics, paedophilia in politics, that kind of thing. And early days for me, wasn't really sure about it. Thought it could be all nonsense. And I ran it by her and she told me that she was at a healing retreat, kind of counselling retreat in the west of Ireland. This was a good few years ago. Small group of people, I think 6 or 7 people. One woman in the group had 9 abortions that she was recovering from because she was repeatedly raped by a satanic group in the west of Ireland. And these were policemen and lawyers and school teachers and whatnot. She went through all sorts of ceremonies, all sorts of abuse, and was trying to work her way back out of it. And the penny dropped for me then, and then I started to research it further. Deeper and deeper stuff came up, and then, as we know, Jimmy Savile came up, the tip of the iceberg of what actually happens and what these people are involved in and why. And I remember asking her, I said, why would people do this? It doesn't make any sense. And her answer, she didn't really know, but her answer was intriguing, was if you have everything, you do whatever you want. You're not at the mercy of the law. You can kill someone, or you can fuck someone, or you can... And then in going down that road, you're inviting in, this is the darker conspiracy side of the video, you're inviting in darker entities, demonic entities and energies. So some people might switch off at this point, fair enough, but it is my view that these things exist and inhabit probably all of us to a greater or lesser degree. But the more you feed this darker stuff, the more of them are quite happy to bargain with us for our energy, for control over others. We have access and ability and energies that a lot of these demons or darker entities do not have. Now, how does that tie into Donald Trump? Well, the greater an ego is basically an addiction. He's a heroin addict or a crack addict. It's the same thing. It needs to be fed. It needs to be pampered, pandering, whether it be from beautiful women, whether it be sex, whether it be power, money. I think with him, money is a part of it. Now it's verging into power, reality TV shows. He loves public speaking. He talks absolute shit, but it's a lot of it's shock value. Within all of us, there is a core of honesty. Within all of us, maybe not Hillary and Bill Clinton. Within almost all of us, there's a core of wanting to do the right thing, wanting to help people, to be a good person. And there's a degree of that in Donald Trump. It's within all of us. Especially, addicts. And I am an addict alcoholic, and I've met an awful lot of them over the years and worked with them and so on. And they're beautiful people. They're intelligent people. They're compassionate, empathetic people. But they have an addiction, and the addiction needs to be fed. So that takes over, and all the other stuff goes out the window. And that's the same pretty much with the likes of Trump. So it's a huge weakness, needs to be fed. He needs power. He needs to know he's in control. He needs to know he's liked, loved, whatever it is, important. Once that's fed, he's okay. You might say, well, so what? Like, what's the point of that? Well, imagine a crack addict in the White House. Okay, he'll do whatever it takes to get his fix. That's pretty much the same thing. Whatever the elite or Goldman or whoever wants done, there are ways to influence a weak man, or an addict or a guy with a big ego. There are ways to feed him, to make him happy. And when you got so many people around you, there's so many ways to get him. There's so many ways to influence him. Advertising works. That's why companies put billions into it every year. So they're not holding a gun to your head and telling you to drink Coca-Cola or buy an iPhone or whatever it is. They advertise, and we go and buy their products. That's the very same way you can influence politicians. There are ways to tap into the subconscious, to steer people's thoughts without them even knowing, to direct them. I think that, to wrap up, I think that people's perceptions of politics are now so low, or I should say people's expectations of politics are now so low. On a scale of 0 to 100, they're now down under 10. And if someone comes along who can push that up to 11, they think, oh my God, like, this guy is brilliant. He's so much better than the others. He's still 11. He's still utterly fucking useless. I understand that there is different shades of the lesser evil. But I think that our own consciousness is so important. My consciousness is so important that I don't want these people or their ideas to taint mine as much as possible, as much as I can stay out of it. I'm more empowered, I suppose, than buying into any of this alt-right or whatever the hell it is. It's irrelevant. It's the slave on the plantation. I don't want the potato. I don't want the day off. give me my fucking freedom. Thank you for listening. Please give it a thumbs up if it's in any way interesting, and please subscribe. Please send to other people. If you think there was something worthwhile that someone might like, send it along or tweet it or Facebook it or do whatever it is you do. And I'll be back soon. Thanks. Bye.